I've been a second string at Tascosa High School my entire career. Until my senior year, I finally got the starting nod. I was set out to prove two things: that I can be a five-star quarterback and I can lead us to a championship. My senior year started against Henderson High, where after great field possessioning, I was able to roll out to the right and find Craig Outstrander for my first high school touchdown. I couldn't believe how easy that first touchdown was, which gave me the much needed boost to drive down the field and expose the defense, which resulted in an Alex Howell rushing touchdown. After my defense secured a turnover, I was able to get in for my second touchdown of the day, but I let all that confidence go to my head as I threw a terrible pass straight to the defense. My coach let me know not to get discouraged and that these things happen. So determined, on my next drive, I was able to find Craig Outstrander for our second connection of the day. And just before the fourth, I was able to find Michael Weisbecker for my fifth touchdown of the day, where we got pulled, and I finished the day as player of the game with some pretty amazing stats. In week 2, we took on Mineral Wells High, and my main goal was to impress any scout that was in attendance today looking out for a QB, which couldn't have started out any better as I found Giasario up the middle for my first touchdown of the day. On my next drive, I was able to find a wide-open Michael Weisbecker for my second touchdown of the day, and I knew that if I continued playing this well, I would have interest and scholarships coming in no time. Unfortunately, my noodle arm couldn't quite make this throw, which resulted in my first interception of the day, and I knew if there was any scouts in attendance, I might have just blown my chance. So I was pretty upset, if you can imagine. After getting lit up on the sideline by my coach, I was determined to bounce back and have a great drive by finding wide-open wide receivers and working our way down the field. I wanted to show versatility to any scouts in attendance, so I took this one in for my first rushing touchdown. And just before half, I had the opportunity to show any scout that was here today that I can effectively move the ball down the field in a 2-minute drill, which started out great with a big bomb to Rivera, but that happiness would only last seconds as I would scramble out, make a bad read, and throw for my second interception of the day, and I could not believe how terrible I was playing. During halftime, I just wanted to go home, so I finished my day up strong with a touchdown to win, and after a turnover, I found Weisbecker for my fifth touchdown of the day, as we got the win over Mineral Wells. To my surprise, on my way back to the locker room, I was met by a recruiter who offered my first scholarship to Old Dominion. The Week 3 game against Edinburgh High couldn't have started out any better, as I would find the win up the middle and he would go untouched all the way down for a touchdown. After receiving my first offer, I found myself daydreaming of all the beaches I could visit while down in Virginia. But I needed to focus if I wanted to get any more scholarships. I figured being only 5'5" would get me passed over for the most part. But I guess being a part of the best team in Texas has its perks too. I noticed the Edinburgh's defense was incapable of covering any of our wide receivers, so I used this chance to sling the ball all over the field as I was gunning for a new career high in both passing yards and touchdowns. This had to be the easiest game I have yet to play, and I owe all the thanks to the Edinburgh's defense, because they were atrocious. I continued exploiting every hole they were willing to give me. Just before half, I dropped this massive bomb over the top to Michael Weisbecker for a touchdown as time expired, going into the half up 35 points. I figured the coach would pull us by now, but I think he had some unfinished business with the Edinburgh's head coach, which I didn't mind because it allowed me to continue to raise my college stock, and I would finish the game with almost 700 yards and 8 touchdowns, which landed me 3 more scholarships. The next week, we took on Angleton High, and I had no problem moving the ball down the field. But the wide receivers always fell short of the end zone, and my coach continued to make me run it on the goal line. However, halfway through the second quarter, I was finally able to find the end zone. But it was to the wrong team, which only added to my overly frustrating day, if you can imagine. Luckily, I got bailed out by my defense, forcing another turnover, which resulted in, you guessed it, me padding Alex Howell's stat sheet. At the beginning of the third, I saw Nguyen all alone down the field where I almost took the ref's head off with my pass, but it resulted in my first touchdown of the day. Even though I didn't find the end zone very often today, that was okay too, as I still moved the ball effectively down the field, which should be a positive to any recruiter here today. My defense goose-egged Angleton High, and we got another easy win, as I received another player of the game, and along received 2 more scholarships. The next week, we took on the visiting Pleasanton High Eagles. They came into this game undefeated and were regarded as one of the best high schools in the state. I was a bit nervous, so I had trouble moving the ball down the field. But finally, at the beginning of the second, we were able to find the end zone with an Alex Howell rushing touchdown. I give all the credit to my defense this week, as they were able to completely stop the Eagles' high-power offense and force multiple turnovers for touchdowns. With the lead coming out of the half, I was finally able to relax a little bit more and put the ball where only my wide receivers could get it. I started to flow like water and found openings all the way down the field and in the end zone multiple times as we were able to get the upset over the Eagles. I received another offer from Tennessee and was excited to learn Alabama was interested after I cracked the ESPN's top 150. The next week, we traveled down to Abilene, Texas to take on the Abilene High Eagles. and I found myself in unknown territory. Down 2 possessions early on into the second quarter. I knew that all my team needed was a solid drive to awaken their spirits, so I did my best to put my team on my back as I led an 80-yard drive down the field for our first score of the game. Despite being down 2 possessions to start the game, the defense finally woke up and I had the chance to go into the half with a lead. I realized the defense left the middle of the field open, so I took full advantage of that before I rolled out and took the ball in myself for the lead. And let's just say, I felt invincible. Our kicker missed the extra point, so despite my heroic effort, we were still only tied. That was until I found my favorite wideout in the win for the lead. Both the defense and the offense have finally found their stride, as the defense was able to hold Abilene to just 13 points in the day, and I picked apart their secondary for multiple big gains and easy second half scores, leading to our second victory over an Eagles mascot this season. And with that performance, I finally became a 5-star recruit and received an offer from Nick Saban's Crimson Tide. Going into the final game of the season, we took on the undefeated Katy High Tigers. Unfortunately for them, they were undefeated in the wrong way, and I planned on taking full advantage of that. They had a hard time keeping up with our aggressive pace and covering any of our wide receivers, as I dropped massive bombs anywhere I wanted to on the field, including this over-the-shoulder pass to win for the long touchdown. I was finding new ways to work our way down the field, including showing any recruits that were here today that I also have some wheels on me. I've been working on my speed, and I figured it was important to show that I was capable of escaping the pocket when under pressure. I can see now why the Tigers were winless so far this season, as our defense was able to hold them to just 2 first downs in the first half. I was able to throw for my 4th touchdown of the half as we steamrolled the Tigers going into the first round of the playoffs. We finished the season undefeated and went into our first round of the playoffs against Pasadena High. I couldn't believe how easy the season felt. We had won convincingly over every team we played, and I didn't want to get too complacent on the biggest stage of my career. But much like any other team we have played this season, Pasadena couldn't figure out how to contain me or cover any of our wide receivers, as I made big plays down the field consistently throughout the game. It seemed like every time I looked down the field, I would see blown coverage. A great example was when I would find our tight end Craig Outstrander wide open in the end zone. I was just strictly embarrassing this team as I rolled out of the pocket and ran in a snake-like formation for a first down. And just halfway through the second quarter, this game started to get out of hand. I sat on the sidelines watching a lot of fans already leaving before half. We were showing them that there were levels to this game and we were at the top. After going down the field very quickly, I found Giasaria for what was a career day for him as we easily walked into the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals game was against Gainesville High, and we started off how we always do, with me leading a precise and aggressive drive down the field as I found an open Chris Husign in the corner of the end zone for the first score of the day. I knew with how I was playing, I would have no problem getting into any college of my choice. However, my focus was on one game at a time as I wanted to bring the first state championship back to my hometown. On this next play, I would find Craig Outstrander as he would throw the defender off of him into the ground and take it all the way to the house. Neither of us was productive in the third quarter, but with the defensive turnover, we were able to strike quickly en route to a semifinal berth. In the semifinal round, we took on Mineral Wells High. We played earlier in the season. I remember they kept it close until later in the game, so I knew I needed to control the game and pick apart the defense. On this play, it had to be the strangest occurrence I've ever seen, where I would fumble when I got across the end zone, and they would consider it a turnover, but they gave us a touchdown and kept the fumble on my stat sheet. As long as they recorded the touchdown for us, I didn't care if they put a fumble on my record. Mineral Wells would go and tie the game up on their next drive, and I used the excellent field position to find Weisbecker in the end zone for the touchdown. After that touchdown, I could see that Mineral Wells was starting to slow down and leave wide open receivers all over the field. I wanted to take full advantage of that and create a lead I knew they wouldn't be able to come back from. I knew at the end of the day we were stronger, smarter, and faster, and with the help of a few late fourth quarter turnovers, we were able to run away with the game in traumatic fashion as we headed to the Texas State Championship. In the state championship game, we were playing Pleasanton High, where we started the game on offense, and I pieced up the defense, going 3 for 3, and eventually finding Craig Outstrander in the end zone for the first touchdown of the day. Fast forward to the middle of the second, we were in complete control of the game, and I don't know what happened to the Eagles, but they weren't the team we played earlier in the season. They weren't able to guard anyone down the field, as I treated them like they were the JV squad. Just before half, I was able to find Giosario for my 5th touchdown of the day, where we were pulled at halftime and we won a Texas State championship. I couldn't believe that all my dreams have come true, as I went for 447 yards and 5 touchdowns, as we defeated the Eagles 70-28. Now it's time to go home and be with my family as I decide which college I'm going to go to. And I will make that decision on the 1st of October at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.